Welcome to the Boise Business Podcast, episode 19, where we interview local business leaders and get their real-world feedback and their processes on how they run their businesses. I'm your host, Reese Phillips. With me today is Dr. Jamie Faught, MD, with the Appleton Clinics. This episode is sponsored by Preferred Senior Benefits, where seniors turn to understand their Medicare health insurance needs. Dr. Faught, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
How's it going today on this smoky Monday?
It's going pretty well, other than that air quality, like you said.
Yeah, it's we were coming down from my cabin in Garden Valley this weekend, and the sun was so bright red from that smoke. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's such a weird. It's apocalyptic appearing. I've heard that said, isn't it?
Oh, okay. I haven't heard that yet, but that definitely gives me a little bit of chills. So thank you for.
Sorry about that.
Well, we're super excited to have you on the show today, Doctor. Before I turn it over to a bio for you, I'll give our listeners a real quick recap of our process. For everyone listening for the first time, basically we're going to ask the doctor what I call 5 major questions. These questions are designed to give us thoughts, feedbacks, wins and losses from the doctor and how she's built her medical practice, why she's done certain things and why she hasn't done certain things. Our goal is for you to be able to take 1 or 2 nuggets from this conversation, apply it to your business, medical or not, and be more successful. So with that being said, Doctor, can you give us a little bit of a bio?
Sure. Again, my name is Dr. Jamie Faught, and I'm relatively new to Idaho. I moved here to open Appleton Clinics in 2018. Prior to that, I'm born and raised in Colorado, so not too far from here. I went to the University of Virginia for undergrad, and then I went to the University of Sydney in Australia for medical school. So living abroad for 4 years was a very cool experience. I spent some time in the outback of Australia doing medical clinics there, so that was interesting. And then I moved back for a residency in Montana, and then I was in private practice, again doing primary care for 7 years prior to moving to Idaho. I have a 13-year-old daughter. I like to be outdoors in Idaho. I like to do the trail running and mountain biking and spending time on the river. So this is a great place to live.
Absolutely. So this brings up a very important question. What's more difficult, completing med school or raising a 13-year-old daughter?
I don't know. I think they're closely tied, I think. Both have a lot of highlights and a lot of challenges. So
Very, very appropriate HR answer. I love it, Dr. Faught. Nice. Well, with that being said, we're really excited to have you on the show. And let's go ahead and jump into our main questions. How does that sound to you?
that sounds great. Thanks.
Great. So, Dr. Faught, I do not believe I sent these to you, so this is going to be off the cusp. So this should be fun. So why did you decide to get into the medical field?
A few different things. One is, I had a natural curiosity and interest in science and how things work and why they work, and the human body was fascinating. And then I think the other real component to that too was in helping people. And kind of before medical school, going to undergrad, that sort of thing, I got involved in and helping kids with autism, and really got into child development. And so my initial plan was to be specialized in child development and do pediatrics or something in that kind of realm, and help families, I guess, with raising kids, from a medical standpoint, but also from that special needs development, challenges that some families face.
And a lot of times when we interview MDs here on the program, we hear a lot of this is kind of, they had an initial why they got into it.
Mm-hmm.
Being that this was, the science side of it and then helping people, what drove that why when you were younger?
What drove the why as far as like helping people, or just the science standpoint, or the whole thing?
Yeah, the whole, what was the main why that pushed you to become a doctor? Because it's not like people wake up one day like, oh, I'm just going to go to med school, become a doctor. It usually has to be a driving force.
Yeah, I think really I wanted to do something that I was passionate about, something I really believed in, something that, I think, I was always a person that liked goals and things to strive for. I was willing to work hard. And so getting to that, like having an overall purpose, and that purpose being in helping people, and having that be a long-term, you know, I don't know if we're ever going to not need doctors, but, you know, something that I could do really for the rest of my life was really appealing to me. And I also think I really like learning. And so the fact that in medicine, there's always something, not only is it initially a lot of years up front learning, but I mean, there's more to learn pretty much every single day. And so that really appealed to me, to just always be in something that's and moving and growing and changing and advancing.
Oh, we lost you there. You still hear us? Dr. Faught, you still there? Oh,
Oh, yeah, are we back?
yeah, we're back. We lost you there. So what I last heard you say was advancing and learning, and then you froze.
Oh, okay. Advancing learning. Oh, in this field of medicine, there's always advancements, and improve, you know, proving upon itself in order to help people. So, and in help in our communities. So, I think that's the thing I think I really got into, and I think what I found later as I've been practicing for a while is kind of the more system side of things, and as you know, like insurance and the way medicine is sort of structured, kind of looking at not so much the business side of it, but for a lack of a better term, like the business side of medicine, has been something I obviously didn't go into medicine for, but you know, here we are.
Yeah. No, and Dr. Faught, what I really am hearing from you, and tell me if I'm wrong here in what I'm hearing, is that the aspect of your learning is around and focuses around medicine, but you're learning all aspects of the medical practice. It's just not treating patients. It's, you know, the coding for the insurance. It's dealing with your team members, dealing with your staff, all these different things you're continuing to learn every single day. Is that a good statement?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think especially in those last years of residency, like really learning about the business side of medicine, learning about coding, understanding insurance. And in my first year of private practice in Colorado, I spent a lot of time, trying to understand, you know, to take good care of patients, but just, oh my gosh, like prior authorizations, like just meeting the needs of insurance, which is also, I mean, I don't know if we're going to this segment, but just, is why I got into this different type of medicine and direct primary care, where we're not dealing with insurances as much.
Well, actually, that is a perfect segue into question number two. And I'm not going to explain this. I'm going to allow you to explain this. So let me just give you the question, and then you can go into that. So why a membership model versus a traditional medical model?
Right. So just to share a little bit, like when I was in Colorado, and again, I was doing private practice for 7 years. I had over 3,500 patients in my patient panel. I worked 5 days a week. On Wednesday nights, I would go back to the office until 10 p.m. to do charting on patients, and I would spend at least 4 hours on the weekends in my office doing patient documentation and records. Like the amount of paperwork to take care of that many patients is insane, including just the prior authorizations. I mean, we have to hire a separate person that's doing all that stuff. So not just to say, like, my overhead was super high at the clinic. I was, you know, paying over $500,000 to work there. And then I had to see enough patients a day, at least 17 to 20 patients at minimum, in order to make my overhead. And I was working like insane, like a lot of hours. And, you know, when I looked at it, it was just like, can I really is this, I mean, I have at least 25 more years of work. And I just felt like, it was just more and more difficult to take really good care of patients. And this opportunity to do something called direct primary care came into my life, and is something I looked at, really researched, and I decided to make this switch. And what direct primary care is, it is a membership based model. So currently at Appleton Clinics in Eagle, Idaho, it's $99 a month. And I'll tell you what that includes in just a minute. And then first 2 kids are free. So there's no charge for the first 2 kids. And what that allows you to have is complete access to your doctor, to our team. So there's no co-pays for office visits. Annual physical exams are completely covered. Annual lab work is covered. Pap smears are covered. EKGs. If we do pulmonary function testing, if we do cryotherapy on a little like wart on your kid's foot, like that, all that stuff is completely covered under the membership. And so it allowed me, even though I'm the medical director here and I'm doing some business side from that, I got away from having to make sure and we don't use insurance. So I didn't have to make sure I was billing a 99214 or 99213 and making sure all my documentation had all the components in order to meet that. It allowed me to just really focus on patients while they were here and letting go some of that kind of constant computer documentation work that was required on a day-to-day basis in a traditional model. So I also think that this model like improves, one, I think that $99 a month, like most people spend more on that on their, Verizon cell phone bill, is affordable, as well as access. Access to us here, we were doing phone appointments before COVID. So we're doing phone appointments and telemedicine visits, communicating with patients through the portal on a regular basis. Again, they can get in for no charge, no copays. So I just think this model is affordable. It improves people's access to medical care. It allows me to spend more time with patients. And it's a model I think that can really work. I think that people should still have like a medical insurance or something for maybe catastrophic but from the day-to-day preventative healthcare needs, I think this is a really good model.
So, wow, that was a great explanation, and thank you for going over that. And there were so many different things that I could hit on from that statement or from that conversation. But the one really that drove home to me was this model enables you to take care of patients better.
Right.
Can you explain why is that? Is that because you're seeing less patients? You said when you had your private practice, you were seeing between a minimum of 17 to 20 a day. Does that mean you're seeing less now, or how does that work?
Right. So the way it's working now is I do see less than, 17 to 20 patients a day, unless someone needs to get in. Sorry, there are some crazy days, right? But for the most part, I'm able to get people in when they need to be seen, and I'm able to spend more time with them. And it is because I'm not like part of the needing to see 17 to 20 to 25 patients a day was in order to meet my overhead, which was quite high for various reasons, but some of them were in order to meet the requirements of Medicare. And so like this model, since we're not participating in Medicare and Medicaid, we have an electronic medical record, we take really good care of patients, but it's not in kind of all the minutia sometimes that doesn't always equate to better care. So I think the access my patients have to me, I think because I am a little bit more available, and then two, again, like the phone appointments, or I can spend more time with them in the patient or in the patient room.
That makes sense. So you guys don't take any type of insurance. You don't take any type of Medicare insurance or any type of Medicaid, anything, just the subscription model. Is that right?
Right, just the membership, and then that's it. We do have patients who have insurance that want to get, their insurance a lot of people just have these high deductible plans, but, and so they're not using them on a regular basis. But there are some people who want their labs to be charged to their insurance or want their imaging. We have cash-based pricing for imaging, such as X-ray or MRI or CT scan. But if people want to use their insurance, we are happy to facilitate that you can use your insurance to pay for that. So just because you come here, it doesn't mean you have to do everything our way. We'll work with your insurance company, but we don't have a billing department, and that's another way that you can reduce overhead, right? Like we don't have a whole billing department that's chasing insurance companies for payments and fees and doing all this other business. So so exactly that. We don't take insurance is the short answer.
Well, awesome. Well, and I think that's something that a lot of people maybe didn't even know was an option. So I hope this really helps. So that's great. Let's go ahead and transition to the third question. So you said, you moved here specifically to open this clinic. What was the hardest part about getting the practice up and running?
There are lots of small things that I think I didn't maybe realize ahead of time. I think, yeah, good question. I think the main thing was, we started out small. I think our memberships have grown since we've opened. We're definitely growing and adding on new businesses. Small businesses will sign up their corporate plan to have their employees come here. We do individuals as well. I think that we still have room to grow. And so I think, I just want to be more accessible. I want more people to come here. I want more people to be able to experience this model of medicine. So I think the growth piece, I feel maybe I'm a little bit impatient for, but I'm excited because we are growing. And I think the more people that we're able to get in here and take care of, the happier I'll be. So I think growth is something. I also think just being a new provider in the area and really making those connections, it just took a little bit longer with other specialists. It just took a little bit longer than I wanted it to, and it's definitely getting there. Like I have my go-to specialist that sometimes I may call to just on how to manage this case, or maybe this person is going to come in for a referral, but like what can we do to get things started for them so we're most efficient in taking care of the patient. So we really try and do, if we do need that patient to see a specialist, we really try to make it that we've reached out to the specialist, that they know why you're coming. This is, they've heard about you. We've reviewed your case with them already. Anyway, I like to provide a very personalized approach to medicine, and having those specialist contacts was another thing that was just kind of hard to get started.
Well, it sounds like efficiency is very important to you in the clinic, so that's awesome. And for everyone out there, I hope they heard what you said, that even for a doctor's office, it takes time to build a practice, and it doesn't always build as quickly as you want it. Would you say that's accurate?
Yes, that's very true.
Okay. Well, I think a lot of times people assume that as a doctor, you just, you get your degree, you get your certificate, you get everything ready, you open your shop, and you're running a multi-billion-dollar successful business. That's not the case. So thank you for shedding light on that. I appreciate that. Let's go ahead and transition to question number 4. And I always love this question. I think it definitely puts some people into some deep thinking mode. So if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice coming out of med school, what would it be and why?
Oh, wow. That is a good question. I think I think that the main thing that has always been true for me, and I think at times maybe there's so many other things coming in that it gets a little blurred or hazy, or you're feeling like there's a different focus in front of you. But I just think when it comes to medicine, and I think sometimes when you're working on the business side of medicine, just stepping back to that, because that's not something you always, that I had a lot of experience in, in medical school or during medical school or residency. All of that happened when I worked in a private practice in Colorado, and it's happening now at Appleton. But when you work in a group setting where there are those business aspects to pay attention to, just to still allow and to take your time with some of those decisions, because ultimately, like the patient and good patient care, excellent patient care, efficient patient care, the access, the affordability are the most important things. And I think sometimes when other voices are coming in and influencing, like what the decision needs to be moving forward, like if you get back to like what your mission is, which is to provide really great care to people who are having medical issues, which can be just such a scary time in someone's life, like that. Anyway, that's the most important, is just staying focused on the mission.
So really just pushing out all the excess noise and just staying focused on your core belief and mission of your business.
Right.
Awesome. I love that. Well, before we jump into the question number 5, which is the one question I never change, I'd like to take a second to have you give kind of what I call an elevator pitch, or some information about your clinic. If more people want to, reach out to you, would like to see if they could, get you as their primary care doctor, or just learn more about the clinic, where should they go and how should they do that?
Great. So one, we do have a website, Appleton Clinics. It has an S at the end. So appletonclinics.com. We're also on Facebook to get some of the information about what's included. Our phone number is also on there, but it's 208-900-9500. I think one of the things I just want to mention is that we understand that we are a different type of model, and some people are really curious and they want to call. I don't, if I'm able to, I can talk with some people about their medical issues, and if they would be a good fit for them to come to this clinic, stopping by the clinic, checking it out. We really like to have, I kind of feel like our clinic's nice. It's new, it's clean. We have coffee, a little refrigerator in front. I think it has a very personal approach. So sometimes if that's what's holding you back, just come by, check it out. We can arrange for a tour. We'd love to show you our space. We'd love to have you get a feel and see if you'd like, if this would work for you. So I think one of the things that sets us apart is we are really patient focused, and we are really open for people to explore what we're about, what this model is about, and making sure it's the right fit for you. And I don't ever want to convince someone to come here if it's not the right fit. I've had conversations, I think we're a good fit for almost anybody, but I've had conversations with people that, maybe with certain issues that they're dealing with, if, that we're not maybe the best thing, or they really do need to make sure they have additional insurance. So we're not going to mislead, anyone that this model is going to be for everyone, but we're happy to have that conversation with you.
Well, and I think just by listening to this conversation, people are going to understand that you're very upfront, you're very transparent, and I think in today's world, that's a great thing. So with that being said, let's jump into question number 5, the one that I always keep the same, and I love it because once again, this is one that really will impact our listeners. So what advice would you give a person looking to get into the medical business in today's ever-changing business environment, and why?
What advice? Well, it kind of goes, oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. Are you still there? Sorry.
You're good. I got you.
It kind of goes back to, I think, medical business or just medicine in general.
I personally think they're the same, because even if you are not running a clinic like you are, you still have to deal with the business side of it, but whatever you'd like to do.
All right. Well, I guess I think that the focus kind of, it stays the same, is just being, if you're into it for the right reasons, I think that, or if you're into just medicine or helping people and you're in it for all the right reasons, I think that all those other things will just fall into place. So it kind of falls in step with what I mentioned before, which is, I don't know, sometimes there's doubts, or sometimes you're getting other opinions. And I think if, you're staying true, to your mission, I think that, and whether that's helping people, I think you'll be fine. I think the other thing I just wanted to touch on that, and then I just totally lost my train of thought.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, again, I just think if you're being true, it'll guide you, and it'll guide you moving forward in the different decisions that you have to make.
No, Dr. Faught, I think you bring up some great points specifically with that, because I think a lot of people, no matter what business they're in, tend to get so sidetracked with so many different things. So I think that process makes a lot of sense. Well, Dr. Faught, with all that said, I'd like to give you the 4 key points that I took away from our conversation. If you feel that they're incorrect or different, please let me know. But this is one of my favorite parts of the show. So my 4 takeaways from our conversation is: do what you believe in, because there's no reason to try something if you don't believe in it. Your whole heart has to be into it. Number 2 is never stop learning, no matter how difficult the job is. Coming from somebody who's not only a doctor, but who is you're the practice manager. What's your title? Medical director?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so yeah. Medical director as well. Never stop learning. Take your time when making decisions. It's okay to slow down and do your research. And the last one is, it will all fall into place if you just keep on going and keep track. Those are my 4 major takeaways from this conversation that I got from you, my learnings. What are your thoughts on those?
I think that's perfect. I think that's great. I should have had that outlined myself then. But yeah, no, I really think that that's yeah, well said. And yeah, that's truly been my experience. I think the only other thing I'll add, and it's not something I really alluded to before, but I think is maybe important, especially in this time that we're going through such a kind of a weird and strange time with a global pandemic and physical distancing um, and then uh, and then just the and then now we have fires and smoke, and it's just kind of a very strange time that I know people are going through a lot of difficulties. And I think that, and this has been written, I think it's a bumper sticker somewhere, but I just think we don't always know what's going on with someone next to us. So if someone has maybe a rude response, or maybe they're grumpy or kind of snapping at you, or maybe they seem really rushed, or whatever it is, sometimes we just don't know exactly what's going on in someone else's life or what they're kind of dealing with. And just having some grace and patience, not with yourself, but also with the people around you, and remembering that we want to build a community that we want to live in. And I think that yeah, just patience and grace, I think for each other, is something important to remember too.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I was just reading a book, I think it was last week, and it had a similar story where a gentleman goes onto a bus with two kids, and these kids are going crazy and playing around and being loud. And somebody else says, "Hey, can you get your kids under control? Like we're in a public arena." And he says, "Well, actually, their mom just died a couple hours ago." So the person
Yeah,
obviously who said that felt completely different because he had no idea that it happened. So I think you bring up a
yeah,
great point.
right, right.
Uh, Well, that brings us to the end of the show, Dr. Faught. Thank you so much for being on and participating. We really do appreciate it. Thank you all for listening to the Boise Business Podcast, where we interview local business leaders and get their real world feedback and their processes on how they run their business. Once again, I am your host, Reese Phillips, and with us today is Dr. Faught, MD, with the Appleton Clinics. This episode is sponsored by Preferred Senior Benefits, which is my business, where seniors turn to understand their Medicare health insurance needs. Please subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Dr. Faught, thank you so much for your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Great. Thanks, Reese. Bye.
Bye.